1971 witnessed a whole slew of acts around continental Europe doing their own unique takes on quirky, zany, jazz rock organ psych. And one such example was the Belgian band Shampoo, and from their album Volume 1, the track Keep the Day Cool. Okay, so far we got that woodwind over that droning, kind of high, slight pierce of a sound, faint, but actually starting out kind of like a somewhat melancholy minor key chamber piece, but just wait. That rising, like kind of soupy, thick organ sound, like 1970, 71, yeah. Kind of the exception sound. Wow, quite a percussive rally right there. Yeah, some early examples of the style of like tinkly, staccato, abrupt call and response between different instruments, like a like there, like one here, one there, you know, between instruments. Okay, we're 1 minute in and we've gone through 4 different sections, or 5 different sections so far. Now, all of a sudden, you get the feeling like we finally maybe entered the song proper, or maybe not. I love those chords that are slightly bent. It's almost there's an off note in each one of the chords they're hitting. La la la. Well, there's a major 7th right there. La.
You believe me, man, tonight she's there. You got to try her, an emancipated woman. My goodness, na 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 na. Dominating everybody, she's hard as a.
I notice how the cymbal is being like phased or being panned between this speaker and that speaker, back and forth.
Whiskey as a woman and the secretary, she's number 1.
I like that swing kind of element that's in certain sections of this, like mixed with that really period organ sound. Earworm, ultimate earworm of the track. Yeah, that those harmonies on this chorus. He's gonna make it always. Yeah, this is really taking shape into something like kind of like a swinging psychedelic piece with kind of like that more theatrical, like harmony laden chorus. Okay, and quite a bass line there. And what do we got here? Oh, the bass is played by Rudy, Pinlée, and the organ work is courtesy of Smets. And one of the guys here, saxist Giorgio Chitschenko, had been in Mad Curry, which issued a self-titled jazz pop psych album the prior year, 1970. Kind of like a 50s kind of Stray Cat vibe going on here, like kind of like cool jazz in the rhythmic department, but a lot of sounds like layered on that are kind of from a much different time and place.
I've got no car, she's driving me home, I thought I am the winner. But later on, just in the middle of a kiss.
Notice how we got like 4 elements going on at once. Notice how the bass and then that guitar kind of does that unique figure.
Phone ring, she had to go back, she seems to be indispensable. Time is money, damn job.
I like his how he's kind of almost like half singing, half. It's almost like he's breaking the fourth wall in a way. Like he's stepping right out of the song and almost kind of like speaking to the audience in a way.
Love it tonight, but I go, na 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 na. Kissing a man, but I go, na 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 na.
I'm trying to think of which UK band from around this period I would compare the harmonies to. My instinct was to say The Move, and then I was thinking, no, it doesn't sound like them at all. Maybe like early Web, before pre like Samurai, like the first 2 Web albums, maybe. Yeah.
He's gonna make it all the way. Yes, he's gonna make it all the way.
Or maybe the Brainchild album. Now that I think of it, yeah. I think the vocals on that one were kind of a little bit on the, I don't know, campy side. I love that fluttering, that fluttery interplay of different brass.
He's gonna make it all the way. Yes, he's gonna make it all the way.
Kind of like hot house jazz, sort of. I'm getting very. It seems like different sections of this track are bringing up different types, conjuring up different types of jazz. Say from between like going back to like the 1930s, I've heard elements of swing. I think I've maybe heard a few elements of like, I don't know, hot house jazz from like the 50s time frame, 40s, 50s time frame. Some cool jazz here and there. Of course, like some of the jazz rock coming out of England, but it just seems to be kind of all over the time, the 20th century timeline. Okay, who are some of the other horn players we got on here? A lot of the media for this album, a lot of the entries on various sites don't give a lot of info, but let's see. On jazzrocksoul.com it says, let's see, François Maes, saxophone, Jean-Noel Passages, trumpet, and so 3 horn players it looks like, yeah, creating quite a sound in racket. And we got and we also got let's see, Jean Holsens on bass and double bass. Okay, that guy I just mentioned, Franz Maes, yeah, he turned up on the Bonsai album, Hora Nada in 1974. Yeah, I did a segment on that like a month ago. I love how the sax can momentarily sound kind of like fractious and then really fluid, like, and then how the other one comes and interjects upon it. Kind of a snare heavy quality to that drum set, an almost minimalist setup, like really just womp womp on the snare and then the kick drum and the cymbal. I like the kind of raw, somewhat production and treated sound effects and on certain layers and instruments and stuff. It lends to the quaintness of the track. He's gonna make it all the way. He's gonna make it all the way, all the way, all the way. Oh, that part where you know they're climaxing because they start like going into this like kind of skip groove type thing. Yeah, dun 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 dun, dun. Like cut off the last note and just repeat. Yeah. Keep the Day Cool by Shampoo from their 1971 singular album, Volume 1. Yeah, let's hear another track from the album, Hot Dog. And more of that like Rijckaert type vibe. Now I like those effects. Yeah, I hear that echoing. Yeah, and giving kind of and now singing in French, or at least momentarily anyway. Yeah, giving kind of that French twist on the Rijckaert vibe and style. Come to think of it, the French language really goes well with that kind of rhythmic feel and swagger and attitude. Now that is quite a vocal melody. I love the way it just rose like that. Oh, quite an angular track. Yeah, that was quite abrupt. I just pressed pause for a second, and then I when I started back on, it seems like it feels like I'm listening to a totally different song. Discipline and order are the only way for lonely men to become free and have thoughts of their own. I love that Rupture is kind of like echoey, like crescendo-y riff, where everything else drops out that dun-ow, dun-ow, and the quaintness of the production on it. Like, there are a few things that come to mind I could maybe compare it to. There were a couple of seconds like that, I think, on that Ticket album from New Zealand. Or I'm also thinking, another thing that comes to mind from a few years later is the Ocean album, yeah. Words made things on mine is maybe in that was a bad this bond. All the things I'm telling you are so relative but true. Well, the best thing you can do is to hear that low, like that trombone underneath this all. For your own. Words made things on mine is maybe in that was a bad that bass was kind of like wobbling around, kind of like maybe a note off on a few places, just kind of corrupting things just slightly, giving things kind of more of a wayward feel. And the sax was just kind of being slightly scribbly and over the top. Another perfect like startup. Oh, great! Like 3-layer midsection here. We got the organ coming out of this sound. That kind of like Eden Rose exception type organ bit, and we got the woodwind coming out of my left speaker, and then we got that bass coming out of the center. Down, down. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes like some of these passages that may have just kind of like passed me by if I was like writing or doing something else along, but like the amount of detail that goes into even these passages that would otherwise maybe seem a bit more subdued in relation to some of the more flamboyant sequences of this track, like the vocal section anyway, and there's just so much musical like intricacy in this movement. Okay, I wouldn't call this part subdued because now they're rising, they're swelling. Okay, now what were they going to do to get out of that section they had just worked themselves into and get back to the song proper? They simply stop and then do something entirely different. It's like, how else were they going to seg back in? Oh god, there's kind of like a psychedelic hazy touch to this all. Just the echoey vibe, and there's like a confluence of elements both production wise and like effects wise that just give this an overall quaintness that's just something more than just the music itself. It's like if you were to play this song on acoustic guitar or someone was to re-record, they wouldn't be able to quite capture the spontaneous magic that went into this. That came together through this. I also think there's an element of just kind of like French Benelux culture that kind of plays into this. Like going back through their history of like, like chanson, like psychedelic chanson, and it's ties to like earlier French movements and such, like in poetry and art and filmmaking. That mixed with psychedelia is just a match made in heaven. It's a different flavor. It's a slightly different flavor than the kind of psychedelia you would get in across the channel in the UK, and definitely like worlds apart from what you were getting in the United States at the time.
Discipline and order are the only way for lonely men to become free and handles of their own.
And because I make that observation also bearing in mind that this is 4 years before that So and Company album came out that I covered like a week ago, and that had like kind of an ineffable vibe that I couldn't quite pinpoint. There was a certain kind of like psychedelic, hazy, just liberty about it that was very unique. Whatever they were doing, that and it, because I couldn't even quite pinpoint what the influences were on it. It was just like a certain there was a certain like cultural backdrop to it all. That was just a place I love to visit in my own imagination. I love my ears to just be able to fly off there at any time.
Words made of things so fine is maybe enough. While it was a blind trying to make this blind. All the things I'm telling you are so relative but true. Well, the best thing you can do is to keep it for your own.
I must also say there's got a bit of that kind of a burlesque troupe vibe going on here, and there was some of that like in like like Belgian and French music scene around the time. I'm thinking like Comintern. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago too. Yeah, and something.
Let's make it things so fine is maybe enough. While it was a blind trying to make this blind.
Kind of an alleyway vibe, kind of like 50s Cool Cat. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Kind of a burlesque, or kind of like a 50s, show tune type ending there. That was a Hot Dog by Shampoo, and before that, Keep the Day Cool from Shampoo's 1971 singular album, Volume 1. And despite its title, it would be their only album. Kind of a follow through for at least one of the guys here to the Mad Curry album, inheriting some of the stylistic elements. Without the female vocals of that album, anyway. One really obvious difference, and also kind of somewhat similar in places to the Moving Gelatin Plates and Pazop. Yeah, basically the Belgian French take on the Canterbury sound of like Soft Machine, particularly like basically taking elements of like Soft Machine Volume 2 and expanding on them, adding a bit of like burlesque and just good old like European surrealism and comedy and quirkiness, zaniness, and liberties with the 20th century lexicon, particularly in the realm of jazz, going through several different jazz styles, and just a whole melting pot of influences, just kind of like in a blender. For more Rubies and Sapphires from the Shampoo album, see the directory of albums by Belgian artists linked in the description below. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, and share the video on like the progressive rock music forums out there, just music forums in general. Like get the word out about this channel. And leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the two tracks we just heard. The the layers, the instrumentation, the interplay, the soloing, the trade-offs, the lyrics, if you caught them a little bit better than I did in real time. If you understood the lyrics of the second one, yeah, great. If you have any observations about those, please do share. The overall vibe, of the tracks and the production and all, And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled Trimaximalist, signing off.